Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Road to the Apocalypse, where we take a look at the development roadmap for the Deadlinger, kind of see where they're going versus what they have. So I'm here on the deadlinger.com website, and we're going to click on the roadmap. We're still in the Survivor gameplay section, and it's huge. Has a lot of stuff in here. But last time we talked about the crafting, repairing, and customizing items. And today let's talk a little bit about weapons and items. A lot of these topics tend to overlap a little bit, but it's nice sometimes to maybe talk about one specific topic. So like here, weapons and items. So in here it just says we are always looking to add more melee weapons to the game to diversify gameplay and give survivors hundreds of choices for any situation. And we've been talking a lot about items. The last couple topics have been talking about like customizing your survivor all the way to customizing your item. And now they want to talk specifically about the items, the choices, the weapons. So far, they have a pretty good selection of what I would call items that you would realistically find. Now, that includes like some shotguns, some civilian hunting rifles, to a weapon that looks like an assault rifle, which to me I'm thinking is more like a civilian AR-15. There's a crossbow, hunting bow, just like a compound bow. Things that you would think you would find in civilian homes. That's great. Along with a skinning knife, combat knife. I've found just some odd stuff like some PVC piping. There's the wrench for piping. So they already have a few things in here that you can swing around. Frying pan. Now I have not tried using frying pan and plumbing pipe, or some of these things I haven't tried just because to me I was like, well, that would be silly. But as the game draws closer to using like achievements, I might use some of those to kill stuff just because that might be kind of funny. Batter up. You kill stuff with a baseball bat. I'm not quite sure what you'd get with a frying pan. More an achievement, but I might look into that. Let me go kill some stuff with a frying pan and see what I unlock. So that might be fun. The big thing though that they've been talking about with their items is mostly going to be like their durability, quality, and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to just to see what they bring in for their items. It's it's a topic that we've spent so much time talking about in other roads to the apocalypse. It's really hard for me to come up with something new. So just need to be careful of the pitfalls of having a whole bunch of items that have a diverse range of bonuses that nobody goes to those items. That's my concern. It's nice that they're going in and making a statistical system for all of these items, but I've seen it before in like huge MMO type of games. Like I'm not sure how better it is in World of Warcraft. I don't play World of Warcraft, but that's something I've read on the forums. Like, if you want to be a raider, you need to be wearing, this much score of raid gear if you want to come with us on the raid. And I don't want that kind of thing to creep into the Deadlinger. Now, the Deadlinger is not a game where you have hundreds of thousands of folks running around on the same servers. It's just a handful of folks, and you're not doing raids. I mean, I understand it's, two completely different games, but the concept of having items with stats means at some point people are going to find that combination of, potentially a helmet, mask, shirt, pants, shoes, and weapon that you don't want to gravitate towards anything else. And then in the big games that have items with stats, they spend a lot of their time balancing and tweaking these items so that it draws light to maybe some stuff that's not being used. What's the good of creating hundreds and thousands of possible combinations of gear if nobody wants to look at it? So that's my only thing, is just be careful how you do your stat system. With that in mind, I'm anxious to see these 3D models, especially with the third person view coming out. They have the rough sketch one now, but people hold the equipment. It just all looks kind of weird. So it'll be nice to see them flesh that out a little bit. That way, if you are carrying that frying pan and you go running, you're not whacking yourself in the head with the frying pan. So weapons and items, there's really not, honestly, a whole lot more that I can add to that. I think maybe this might be a good time if you have comments or questions about the items and equipment in the game. It's just so early to really speculate and ask specific questions because they're at 20% where they want to be with the weapons and items. And I think that only means with like maybe how many they want to add to the game. 20% with what they want to add, because a lot of their other categories on this development roadmap talk about how they want you to interact and use those items. So this might be specifically talking about how many they have in the game. Alright, so I just had an additional thought that I'm going to put on here at the end of the video. I'll try to edit this all together nicely. When we're talking about the items, it's just dawned on me as I was getting ready to post this. Right now, they're only pulling items essentially from a couple of locations, and that's the log cabin that you can find, but those items are pretty much things you could find everywhere else. It's just that's a place that generates items. There's like the supermarket, there's the little Swerts or whatever it's called, and the big shopping mall building. There's an apartment complex. I don't think I've ever been brave enough to go into an apartment. But see, those places all pretty much spawn the similar items. But I just got to thinking about that. Oh my goodness. They're later going to be adding new locations, what some people might call a biome, in their procedurally generated world. They've already mentioned that they want to add military locations. And in fact, I think down in the roadmap it talks about these locations. So that's going to be important too. As they start to pull in these other areas and add more items, they can make those items be more specific to the area that generates them. So like if you have a military location that it spawns, like an evacuation point or a checkpoint that's on a road, then you're probably going to find some military type hardware. You might actually find an assault rifle. If they make a hospital, for instance, then you might actually find some of the things you might need to lower your infection or heal yourself up, bandages and such. If they spawn in a school, then you might find some things that are more books. I'm not sure if they'll include books, but that would be cool if you could get books. And maybe if you read a book, it'll increase your knowledge in a skill, because they're going to come out with like a skill system. But that's the thought I just had. Not so much the item themselves, but where you're going to be able to find those items going forward. That's the problem I've been having with some of these, talking about the roadmap, is I'm thinking in terms of the locations they currently have, because that's what I got to base on. But now if you start looking forward and think about the places they're going to be adding, then that's going to give you a lot more diversity in the things that you can find, and that will actually encourage you to push out and explore. Because if you know at some point you can run across like a military checkpoint, you might want to keep on pushing just so you can find that stuff. Or if you know somebody's, your infection is getting high, then you might want to take the chance and just keep running and explore through the world until you find that hospital. And then it's like, hey, do I risk going in just to find, something that might potentially lower my infection, but yet it's crawling with zombies that could just kill me? That's what's going to make you really think about your choices. So that's what makes that an exciting topic to talk about, is where will you find these things? Okay, let's wrap it up there. I promise this time. Thank you so much for hanging out for this last little thought, and we'll see you next time. Bye.